Live from the virtual Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2021 eShort Course Pro 2 Triple Crown powered by Jim Beaver Esports. And so happy that you're spending tonight with us here on Podium. We're alongside our producer Ryan Bauer and Joshua Lee. My name is Evan Pasoko. Cameras are courtesy of Dougie Beard, and then Zach Johnson, Eric Messer also helping us out behind the scenes this afternoon. But this is a real exciting one, Josh. We are back for more action here in 2021 with Jim Beaver Esports and the eShort Course action. Tonight, though, a very unique challenge. We head to Lime Rock Park in the Pro 2 trucks. We really don't have much standard to kind of base what we're expecting tonight on, and I think that's probably the most exciting thing.
Yeah, the last time we saw that these drivers in a Jim Beaver Esports event, it was back at Bark River in the Pro 4s. We're turning Pro 4s into Pro 2s, so four-wheel drive into two-wheel drive, and putting them from dirt to asphalt. It is going to be a completely different race. No jumps, just trying to navigate a road course in these very top-heavy Pro trucks. It is going to be a tough race to navigate, but it's going to be an exciting one at that.
And some of the best are ready to do battle. Let's talk more about Lime Rock Park and some of the specific challenges that this racetrack will bring us over the course of tonight's race. It's not the first time we have done racing over the course of the history of this Triple Crown on a road course like this. We've seen it in the past. We've gone racing at places like Long Beach, at places like Laguna Seca, but the first time challenge here on the classic layout of Lime Rock Park, 1.53 miles in length and 7 corners.
And it's one of those tracks that everybody with iRacing is familiar with. It's one of the rookie tracks that you race all the way from rookie Mazdas up through to A-Class in iRacing. Main challenges of this course, just trying to navigate those curbs. There's a lot of grass runoff here. You don't want to get those 0Xs or 1Xs in qualifying. You don't want to get track limits penalties during the race where you have to slow down for those. Huge elevation coming off of turn number 6. Be careful not to lose the truck there. With 7 turns, it's deceptively tricky, and at only 1.53 miles in length, lap times are going to be short, races are going to go by quick.
And it is going to be critical to remain mistake-free if you want to grit up good for the feature. We take a look at our podium race analysis, and we'll start with a couple of heat races. At LCQs, the top 6 will be locked in. That will dictate their starting position for the feature. And we may have just one LCQ tonight, the top 12 going to make it through, and then an 18-lap maximum of 24 truck main event with the competition caution at the halfway point. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. You've got the sim stars and you've got the real world stars, and there is no better person to get tonight's race kicked off than Jim Beaver himself. So let's hand things over to Jim to get tonight's Pro 2 Triple Crown race underway.
Hey everyone, Jim Beaver here, and I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in to the Jim Beaver Esports eShort course Triple Crown Round 3. Unfortunately, for the first time, I'm actually missing this. Been on the road. Real World Motorsports events have come back, and I've been doing a lot of traveling and not able to be in the broadcast booth today, as well as Tiffany Stone. She's at an event as well, but Evan is going to hold things down. He knows the sport better than anybody, and I'm sure he's going to deliver today on the broadcast standpoint. Just wanted to thank all of you competitors, everybody tuning in at home. You've made this eShort course Triple Crown and World Cup one of the biggest iRacing events of the year, and really thankful to have you guys support the past couple of years and continue to grow this. We've had some great accomplishments, 6-figure viewership. We've been on CBS Sports, and let me tell you, 2022 is going to break records. We've got some huge announcements to come, some major partners getting involved, and I'm really looking forward to that. But before we get to that, we have today's third round of the eShort course Triple Crown, and we want to get those engines started, and let's go racing.
Let's go race it indeed, and go trackside to take a look at your starting grid for heat race number 1. Zach Knowles will bring us to the green flag. He was the best of the best through Q, and he will start alongside Keaton Swain in second. Josh Edmondson, Cam Peterson, two of the biggest short course names on iRacing, will double up for row number 2 ahead of Tyson Miller and Mason Prater, your top 6.
And back from there, completing the 11 trucks, ready to roll off here in heat number 1. Ethan Ebert to the inside of row 4, James Watson to his outside, Miles Morris with Kieran Forrest on that 5th row, and Chris Plumley gonna round out the top 6 rows and all 11 cars competing tonight. Watch for Plumley. He's also one of the fast pro truck drivers that we need to watch tonight.
And we take a look at our weather conditions, not going to wreak much havoc. The most exciting that I see is it looks like late afternoon conditions. Going to be a beautiful view at an always scenic and historic Lime Rock Park. Remember, in this one, your top 6 drivers will automatically lock themselves in on the grid for the final. Everybody else going to have to deal with an LCQ on the back end of this one. The pace car going to lead us off in the final quarter, put the field in the hands of the 099 of Zach Knowles. We're ready for heat race number 1 as we say, let's go racing at Lime Rock.
Good start as they all go barreling into turn number 1, 2 by 2. Keaton Swain not letting Zach Knowles get too far ahead just yet. Knowles gonna try and cover off the spot. Contact further back, that was Cam Peterson. Looked like Mason Prater got into him. Peterson didn't lose too much time. He's still fighting for P4, but out in front, Zach Knowles is trying to clear everybody. Edmondson to the inside of Swain as we go on board with Peterson to the back straightaway.
Peterson was actually able to win at the end of all of that. He's taking a look on Josh Edmondson in a battle for 3rd and 4th position, slotting up the inside behind Keaton Swain. Stays ahead as you're looking off now on Mason Prater. He rides in the number 5 position as they run through the running order, now sliding back 1 spot. And for the first time through this 8-lap feature race for these heat races are going to go by awfully quickly. And Zach Knowles, starting from pole, leads at the end of lap number 1, but he is hotly contested with Josh Edmondson looking to make a move in the run down to the Big Bend. He'll go to the outside. Can he keep it on track, though? Very easy to overshoot that, and Knowles defends the race lead.
He almost did overshoot it going down into turn number 1. Able to get out of the gas in time, hit those brakes, and keep it on the racetrack. You're on board with Cam Peterson. We talk about dominance when it comes to off-road racing and iRacing. We talk about Cam Peterson. He is so dominant. You put him in any truck, any track, he is going to get out there and win. And he's trying to do that here, even in heat number 1. He's been all over the back bumper of the 21 of Keaton Swain, trying to find any possible way to get around him that he possibly could. Top 4 breakaway. Peterson's at the end of that. Nobody able to get around Knowles just yet. We look back to Tyson Miller. He's on that transfer spot of P6. Ethan Ebert, closest truck behind him, some 2 seconds back to the road. So it's the top 6 really pulling away. Here comes Edmondson back into 1. Hill's going to dive to the inside of Zach Knowles. Edmondson wants the lead as they work through 1, and he is going to take it, but he's not clear yet. He forces himself to.
Through the grass on the Sam Posey straight, and new race leader Josh Edmondson pushing his way through, and Zach Knowles for the first time tonight sees a car in front of him as he falls back into position number 2. He'll try to reset, go for the counter punch, but Keaton Swain right there as well. Drop the spot early, keeping the pressure on the driver out of Gilbert, Arizona, trying to maintain some track position here in this first heat race. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 up the road now, starting to stretch their legs just a little bit. Cam Peterson, after a bit of a rough start, right back into this conversation. Coming to the end of lap number 3, up front in control is Josh Edmondson, but his gap is only a truck length and a half. Now, this Sam Posey straight here is where these drivers have really been drafted up on one another, and watch Peterson here, sticks a nose out, looks to go to the inside. He will for position number 2. Knowles will try to hold on the outside, keeps him honest, but for the second lap in a row, Knowles will lose a position in turn 1.
And that was Cam Peterson getting around him, now up to second place. The 2 teammates at Jim Beaver Esports now up into the top 2 spots as Norwood, Ontario's Cam Peterson looking for the lead now on Edmondson. It's a 6/10 gap in between these 2 drivers as we go on board with Keaton Swain now in 4th place. Will he be the next truck to get around Zach Knowles? It has been, like you mentioned, Evan, 2 laps, 2 positions lost for the double 99, and now trying to take over that 3rd spot is Swain. You can see him rotating that truck through turn 7, and now going on to the front straightaway. Can Swain pull out a line and get around Zach Knowles down the Sam Posey straight? Trying to draft all he can, but it's not going to be enough. Keeping that spot will be Zach Knowles.
And halfway home in heat race number 1, your top 4 trucks break it away a little bit. Swain in 4th, 1.5 off of the race leader. Tyson Miller in 5th, 4.1 off of Josh Edmondson in this race lead. But it has been a mammoth of battles between Cam Peterson and Josh Edmondson that we've seen over the years in this. It's no shock. They are the drivers putting on the show early. We mentioned the key to this race, though, is finishing inside of the top 6. You saw it there for a moment. Mason Prater is the last driver in comfortably, about 2 seconds ahead of Ethan Ebert. We'll keep an eye on that if anything changes. But Josh Edmondson, you talk about a driver who has been so overdue. Josh has yet to get a win in these Pro 2 trucks old time in the Jim Beaver Esports eShort course history. He is looking to get his night started on the right foot here tonight, and this time by, he'll see 3 laps to go in heat race number 1.
And getting started on the right foot is exactly what Edmondson is doing. One of those drivers for Jim Beaver Esports, and if you're on that team, that means that Jim Beaver believes in your talent, and Josh Edmondson has the talent to back it up, trying to qualify for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. Unfortunately, wasn't able to, putting his focus now to this race, and he is looking stout at the front of this field. Last time by set his best lap time of the race, a 58.995. Guess who was just 1/1000th of a second faster? Oh, Cam Peterson, who we're just on board with in the number 48, sitting and watching in P2.
And it's been a very different story for Cam Peterson versus that of Edmondson. The success has come often and come frequently. In the case of Cam Peterson, with the very first eShort Course World Cup back in 2020, he also got a Pro 4 Triple Crown win from a Wild Horse Pass. He wants to break a 3-way tie between himself Brandon Proudfoot and Luke Cadup as the only two-time race winners in eShort course history entering tonight's race. But Peterson is all over the back of Edmondson for first. Rod on board with Keaton Swain there in fourth position, continuing to trace Zach Knowles, who appears to have settled into that number 3 position after dropping off of the pole early in this one. Off of Josh Edmondson, Peterson applying the pressure inside of 2 laps to go.
And they roar back onto the back straightaway. Battle for the transfer spot staying relatively the same. Prater and Ebert separated by about 2 seconds, so we stay on the battle for the lead between Edmondson and Peterson. They work their way into the corner. They'll go downhill back onto the Samposi straight. Look at Cameron Peterson right on the back bumper of Josh Edmondson. They work their way through the final corner. Can Peterson get enough of a run down the front straightaway to make a move going into turn 1? Edmondson sees the white flag. Peterson too little too late. He can't make the move into 1. Edmondson's gonna keep it as they go around for one more time in Heat 1.
Looked like he gave it a little bit too much off of that final corner there through the diving turn and up and in the grass, and that hurt him on that long run down the straightaway. So he's gonna have to make it happen the hard way here. Through the left-handed of the S's, they'll head to the big bend and then the uphill. There's a lot of heavy braking zones back half of this track that Cam Peterson may have to use if he wants to get onto the back bumper of that 58 machine in front of Josh Edmondson. They will now go to the uphill. No chicane on the layout we're using here tonight in these Pro 2 trucks. And now 2 final critical corners. The west bend, very easy to overstep it, run off it into the grass. Both drivers disciplined, but they are all on the ragged edge. Final quarter now, the dive for Cam Peterson. He's cleaner this time, but it's too much of a gap in favor of Josh Edmondson, who wins heat race number 1.
And the battle for 6 might be heating up as they come to the line. Christopher Plumley was able to get close, but it's not going to be close enough. Not enough time to take the spot. And take a look at the block thrown when they came across the start-finish line from Mason Prater. And they were able to keep that spot. Prater moves in from P6.
Yeah, that was real aggressive stuff from Ethan Ebert there and Christopher Plumley across the start-finish line, but they do not make the show. Edmondson, Peterson, Knowles, Swain, Miller, and Prater are locked into the feature. Nobody else is eliminated. They'll just have to determine their grid position a little bit later on through the LCQs. But ready to go for heat race number 2, and Bodie Cryer will start on the top spot for this run. Remember, an invert of the top 4 based on qualifying times for these heat grids. So Connor Berry, therefore, ends up in the number 2 position, and then Andy Trippiano and Brandon Proudfoot will start from 3rd and 4th, and then the duo of Sean Stratton and Dave Bodio on row number 3.
And back from there, completing the 11 drivers, ready to go racing here in Heat 2. Keith Jeffrey, Oliver Golding going to share that 4th row. Victor Aldrich and Cameron Aubernon on row 5. And then Luke Cadup back there in 11th place on the final row. Last time we saw Jim Beaver Esports eShort course Triple Crown here on Podium Esports. He was the winner in the Pro 4s at Bark River. He's ready to go racing in Heat 2, Evan.
That's when he got his 2nd win. He won the Crandon World Cup last year as well. Cadup, Peterson, and Proudfoot, as I mentioned a little bit ago, the only drivers to be multi-time race winners here in the Jim Beaver Esports eShort courses 2-year history. And of course, wrapping up the 2021 schedule this year, we talk about some of the previous events. We saw Holden Heitritter win the 2021 eShort Course World Cup earlier this year. And then you mentioned Luke Cadup winning at Bark River in the Pro 4 Triple Crown. Looking forward already to what's to come in 2022. But another heat race to get through, and we'll see based on that invert. Of course, we saw how quickly the likes of Knowles and others got swallowed up by some of that talent towards the rear with that top 4 invert, how much of a factor that was in heat race number 1. See how it plays through in this one. Pace car going to get out of the way early and watch this dive for the first time down and into turn number 1. They're going to use the Samposi straight to build up speed. Green flag in the air for heat race number 2.
Look at the start on the outside line. Connor Berry going to look for the lead already around the outside into turn number 1. Take a look at those Two Jim Beaver Esports cars make that 3 on the outside line as they work their way through the corner. Barry trying to cover off the spot from Bodie Cryer. He will do it as they go into the left-hander. Still side by side, the 92 trying to hold on to second, but Brandon Proudfoot pushing his way into the battle for second place. He's going to have to give way as the 92 goes to second.
Cryer committed, defends the number 2 position, so not all is lost. They'll single file out, first time through the big bend and to the uphill section. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Look like they're trying to pull away on this one, but it seems like that best passing opportunity is going to be that long run down the front stretch and into 1. So watch Proudfoot here. He's all over the back of pole sitter Bodie Cryer, who has slipped back into the number 2 position at the moment, and even up the road you can see the view as this top 4 pull away. Here's the dive now to the inside. The 22 steps out. Proudfoot going to go to the bottom. They're side by side for second spot. That 92 of Cryer will not go down easy, but the spot does go to Proudfoot. Now he wants a twofer, trying to get inside Connor Barry, just couldn't get the drive off.
And take a look at Andy Trupiano, who we're on board with now. He saw an opportunity, now fighting with Bodie Cryer for third. Cryer not going to give him any favors on that inside line, but Trupiano still able to push that nose of that Pro 2 truck in there to try and make a move. Couldn't do it, but battle for the lead. Look at Proudfoot to the inside, trying to get around Connor Barry. They'll stay side by side as they work their way up the hill and right on back down. To the inside goes Proudfoot. Barry trying to hold strong on the outside. They'll stay side by side as they go all the way down the hill. Back to the Samposi straight. Proudfoot with a nose ahead, trying to cover off the spot, and he will.
They had about 2-3 different bits of contact, but in the end, the driver who wins out in that exchange is Brandon Proudfoot. He'll go to the race lead. Now for second, Cryer looking to the inside on Connor Barry. Will not commit to it. Further back, battling for the bubble spot. A huge pack of cars all around Victor Aldrich. He's 7th at the moment. He needs one more spot. Sean Stratton in that critical P6 right now. That blue trading paints number 72, Pro 2. The last driver locked into the feature as they run now, and looks like the battle is going to be behind him because Keith Jeffrey going to go underneath Aldrich, and they'll beat and bang through the S's, nearly sending that 88 machine off of the racetrack.
Keith Jeffrey with the contact. He's going to make contact now with Luke Knupp as they work their way down the straightaway. But back to the inside of Aldrich goes Jeffrey. He's going to push Aldrich off track. Into the grass goes the 198. Gets it back on, but he's going to lose 2 spots. Goes down into P9. And Knupp now going to go fighting with Keith Jeffrey down the Samposi straight. You're looking back from Sean Stratton in the 72 on the battle for 7th between Jeffrey and Knupp. Stratton now sitting comfortably in that transfer spot. Knupp goes to the inside of the 88.
Oh!
And over goes Jeffrey in turn 1.
He sends the 88 machine as Keith Jeffrey barrel rolls into the tires from position number 7. Huge contact in turn number 1. Let's take a second look. Right there, just dives into the inside. The wheels get together, and that is what sends the 88 machine up and over, and just like that, Jeffrey is out of the battle for the transfer position, and Sean Stratton in P6 will run away after they were wrecking each other behind him for P7. He's about 1 seconds ahead of Luke Knupp, who gets through that contact.
And that was contact that came about because Knupp just went to the inside, maybe got in a little bit too hot, didn't get on the brakes early enough, and just slid right into him. So that moves Jeffrey. He's still on the racetrack in P9. Not a ton of damage to that Pro 2, even though it flipped 5 or 6 times down there in turn 1. He's still on the track in 9th. Just trying to salvage a good starting spot in the Constellation. But Sean Stratton not out of the woods yet. Knupp still there, less than a second behind. We'll see if that battle will develop any further. So we go on board with Knupp as he tries to chase down Stratton in the 72 for the transfer spot. Not a lot of time to do it. 4 to go. And it's about to be 3 to go as Proudfoot comes back to the line.
And Proudfoot has been oh so consistent up at the front of the field. Your winner at Long Beach, but coming off of a DNS, not participated at Crandon, wants to get back into the swing of things. Started a 4th position in this heat. Very quickly drove himself to the point. And this time by, he will put lap number 5 behind us and take 3 laps to go in this second heat race of this one. Back further, though, Luke Canup puts down a real barn burner from position number 7 to 59.574. Much better than the minute 06 that Sean Stratton just put down. And Luke Canup is knocking on the door for that final guaranteed transfer in position number 6. And we've already seen that Luke Canup is not afraid to contact with the battle wounds on the nose of his 77. So if I'm Sean Stratton, I'm shaking in my boots right now because Luke Canup is going to get to him here in about a minute.
And they continue to fight. Remember, everybody will make it into the feature. This is just battling for a better starting spot as right to the inside goes Canup. As they go up the hill, they'll go into the right-hander. Back down the hill they go. Not even going to need much time. Canup's going to take that spot. Stratton makes contact with the back bumper of the 77. They work down the hill through the final corner. Canup's going to try and run away. Stratton is going to need to try something down here in turn number 1. He's gaining, he's gaining, he's gaining. Is it going to be enough? They come across the start-finish line. Canup goes defensive. Stratton's gonna try and get down there. Contact made. Canup sliding through the corner, but Stratton's gonna have to stay in P7.
Well, it was a failed crossover by Stratton that final time off of the corner, a block to the inside by Luke Canup, and now that 77's going to want to get away because Luke Canup dished it out first. Sean Stratton now able to give him the chrome horn back, but I think of these two, Luke Canup is just faster at the moment, even with that damage. So Stratton out of Des Moines, Iowa, going to try to get back up and into the mix here, but I just think Luke Canup going to be a bit too much unless he opens the door with a critical mistake. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Brandon Proudfoot looking for the white flag and 1 lap to go in heat race number 2.
Proudfoot with a dominating race here in heat number 2. Gained 3 spots from where he originally started in 4th in this heat. And he showed that speed in qualifying. He's showing it again here in heat number 2. Battle for 3rd. Trupiano currently has the spot in the number 34. Bodie Cryer in the 92 sits there in 4th as they work their way through the middle corners here at Lime Rock. Update on the battle for the transfer. Not too much to update on. Luke Canup in 6th sits there comfortably as Sean Stratton sits in P7 in the number 72, trying to catch up to the back bumper of Canup, but not going to be anywhere close. Proudfoot going to bring it through the final 2 corners, Evan. He's looking stout for a heat 2 victory.
Kept it clean and showed a lot of speed, and we talked about the invert based on qualifying order. Proudfoot was second best on the speed charts, but in heat race 2, he was the best by a mile. Brandon Proudfoot, heat race number 2 winner as we look to the bubble. Luke Canup still in P6, navigates the final quarter clean. He is locked in to the show as the final transfer into the feature from heat race number 2. So Proudfoot gets the victory by 1 second over Connor Berry, who finishes 2nd, Andy Trupiano, Bodie Cryer, Dave Bodio, and Luke Canup will advance to the feature. That means Stratton, Aldrich, Jeffrey, Auberdon, and the rest of your finishers, including Golding, will head to the LCQ. So one more B-main to set the grid for the back of the feature race here from Lime Rock Park. The magic number of the maximum cars is 24, so everybody gonna make the show. This is simply for qualifying. So based on their finishing order in the heats, your P7 finishers are on row 1. So Ethan Ebert and Sean Stratton will have the best seat in the house on the front row ahead of Jerissa Plumley and Victor Aldrich, 3rd and 4th. Kieran Forrest and Keith Jeffrey through P6.
And the rest of the starting grid down to P10. 10 trucks ready to go green. It's James Watson, Cameron Auberdon on row 4 with Miles Morris and Oliver Golding on row 5. So 10 trucks ready to go racing to set their starting spots from 13th on down. And we're going to see just how willing they are to race for these starting spots, Evan. They can be important when it comes to this feature race.
Yeah, the feature race is a longer one, right? 18 laps plus the competition caution at halfway, which has been really the difference maker in all of these eShort course races we've seen thus far. But If you can get up and ahead, I think, of the inevitable chaos, so that we get all 20 some odd of these trucks on track at the same time, is going to be very helpful. Slightly different with the number of trucks, but the format remains the same. 8 laps. Everybody gonna go to the feature with Ebert on the front row alongside with Stratton. Green flag flies for the B main. It's a high speed, about 105 mile an hour trip first time down to turn number 1. There's some 3 wide behind the race leaders, but for the most part, clean in through, and the driver who breaks out ahead is Ethan Ebert.
Jeffrey got squeezed out in turn number 1. He'll fall to P7 as he'll get around Miles Morse for that 7th spot. Ethan Ebert getting away well. Sean Stratton, Plumlee, Aldrich, Forrest, the top 5. Look at the number 39, James Watson. He tried to look to the inside. He's going to make contact with Kieran Forrest ahead of him, trying to knock him out of the way, but it's not going to work well. He'll stay in P6 for the moment. Jeffrey's all over his back bumper, and Morse is all over the back bumper of Jeffries. They work their way through 6.
Very aggressive. Remember, there is no magic cut. This is all for position in the feature as we ride on board with Miles Morse. He's got a view of everybody. First full speed run down to turn number 1. He wants to look off and into the inside of Keith Jeffrey. There's more side by side in front of them as Kieran Forrest looks off and on to the bottom of the number 52 truck. He'll ride the curve through turn number 1. Behind them, a little bit too wide and 3 wide. Look out there as it's all out of control. Watson will turn Jeffrey at the rear of the field.
A nightmare night for Keith Jeffrey in the 88. Turns worse. He's going to tow it back to the pit lane. How unfortunate for Keith Jeffrey. Going to start shotgun of the field at the back in the feature. We'll try and grab a look at the replay here, and we're going to do exactly that. Just 3 wide. The 39 of Watson goes wide, tries to come back on, doesn't realize the 45 of Miles Morse is also there, and everyone fighting for real estate. Evan, and it ran out too quickly for them to handle.
Yeah, didn't realize or didn't care, right? These trucks can take a beating, and I think he said, listen, if I kind of back off here and go off and into the grass and kind of accept this corner as missed, I'm losing 3-4 spots. He pushed his way back on. I don't really think he cared who was there as we pick up the battle for the number 4 position. Aldrich is under fire. Here comes Kieran Forrest now, trying to get into this mix, but he's kind of the 3rd car out of line right now as he now gets underneath Aldrich. They will touch on the door, just a bit of a kiss. And now as they try to fight their way through, Aldrich doing a real good job of shaking off the 52. About 4 or 5 different bits of contact. Can they go side by side through the S's?
It seems like they can go side by side through there, Evan, but they gotta be careful because we've seen even slight contact on the front and the bumper. It's really not too bad to give a little bit of a push to the trucker in front of you, but if you're touching side to side, that's where we're seeing the cars get thrown off the racetrack. That's where we're seeing the trucks start to flip over like we saw with Keith Jeffrey back in heat number 2. So they need to be careful when it comes to the contact. Yes, they can take a lot of damage, but if you hit at the wrong angle, you're going to send not only the truck to your outside flipping, but you might also get involved as well.
Well, we've already seen a truck up and over tonight. Something tells me we may not be done as Aldrich behind these cars here up front misses turn number 1 again, and this time it will cost him a position to Kieran Forrest. That number 52 truck easily goes on through, so those self-inflicted errors for Aldrich there have been the concern. He's trying to fight back on that 52 car now, but that's 2 laps in a row where he has left the inside wide open. Meanwhile, back on the board there with the Morse. He's up 3 positions, has been going the right direction all night long, but is hotly contested right now by that 39 machine. He's got James Watson behind him, and then of course the duo of Aldrich and Forrest up the road, but he goes a bit too wide there, and here comes Watson now underneath. The 39 get a squeeze through and set us up for a drag race down to turn 1.
Both of them on the loud pedal, racing down into the first corner here at Lime Rock. give the advantage to Miles Morse on the outside line. How can Watson dive into turn number 1? Morse gonna go wide. That gives the spot wide open to James Watson in the 39. Morse tries to come back with a dive to the inside. Not going to be enough. Gives 6th place to James Watson in the 39. And I think it's very interesting to see how they're really making passes out here, Evan, because they're really waiting on the truck in front of them just to leave maybe even a half truck length on the inside. And they're forcing that door open, making the pass. Just really interesting to see. And then to complete the pass, they're diving it into the corner, almost slide job-like, to be able to complete the pass. Passing is difficult here at Lime Rock, unless, of course, you're willing to be a bit aggressive. Then it seems easy. Just knock that door open, and you're going to be right there.
I mean, you think of the eShort course stuff on the iRacing service, even just, short course racing in general, and you're thinking of places like the Big House at Crandon. But I'll tell you what, I referenced some of the earlier road races we've seen in these. We've been to Laguna Seca, we've been to Long Beach, and now our debut here at Lime Rock Park. These trucks are fun on the asphalt just as much as they are on the dirt. It's a very different challenge, but they are throwing all that weight around every opportunity they can get. We are inside of 3 laps to go in the B main. Hanging it way out from the race lead is Ethan Ebert. He's having fun with it, trying to defend about a 3-truck advantage right now over Strawn Stratton in 2nd position. They pulled away, I think, pretty comfortably over the drivers behind them. It's a 2-horse race for the win here in this LC.
And back on board with James Watson as he'll try and get around Victor Aldridge as Aldridge goes way wide into the grass. Is that going to open the door for Watson? Not exactly. Getting a little bit of grip is Aldridge, but now he's going to overshoot the final corner. Give 5th now to James Watson. He'll punch his ticket to the top 5. And Victor Aldridge now going to have to hold off Miles Morse as they dive into 1. 2 laps to go here in the LCQ. Morse is going to try and dive it in. Aldridge able to slam the door in time. He'll keep that 6th spot in the number 198, but Morse is not done in the number 45 as they race back through turn 2.
Probably the best turn number 1 that Aldridge has had tonight, but again, it's the mistakes when he got those left side tires in the grass that would not let him rotate down the hill to the final corner, and that's what opened up the inside. 2 laps, 2 mistakes, and 2 positions lost for Victor Aldridge, who has dropped from 4th on the grid now to position number 6. Those are going to be the things that'll make the difference in the feature. Is being able to remain mistake-free and not give these drivers an inch, because you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, especially in those Pro 2 trucks where they really don't need a whole opening to stick a nose in there. Meanwhile, Ethan Ebert will see the white flag. 1 lap to go as your race leader is checking out.
What a run from Ethan Ebert. He started on the pole, has stayed there. You go back to Sean Stratton, started in 2nd, has stayed there. You go back to Christopher Plumley, started in 3rd, has stayed there. So a great run from Ebert, Stratton, and Plumley to keep their positive yardage on the track, and they're going to walk away 1, 2, 3, assuming we don't see anything wild happen here on the final lap. Kieran Forrest looking stout in 4th. James Watson, he's pushed his way to P5, and he's still going to have to hold off Victor Aldridge on this final lap. But Ebert going to come up the hill. Stratton and Plumley and Forrest in tow. And the 57 is looking to walk away with a consolation victory. Going to start 13th on the grid for the feature.
Not exactly where he wanted to be when the night started, but he was very impressive under race pace in this LCQ, and it will be Ethan Ebert, the first driver to win from pole tonight from Lime Rock. Hangs on, he'll get that best grid position, some side-by-side behind them to the line, as Aldridge tried to steal a spot back from James Watson, but was unable to do so. Let's take a look. Again, all 10 drivers make the main event. This will grid them 13th on back. So Ethan Ebert is your LCQ race winner ahead of Sean Stratton in 2nd. Chris Plumley comes home 3rd. Kieran Forrest comes home in 4th position. And James Watson, Josh, was in P5.
Aldridge back from there in 6th, trying to get a spot on Watson, just wasn't able to. Miles Morse will finish in 7th. Oliver Golding, P8. Cameron Aubernon comes home in 9th with Keith Jeffrey rounding out the top 10. 1 lap down in the pits.
So look top to bottom at your LCQ results, and the grid is now set for the feature. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to virtual Lime Rock Park, the 8th checkered flag in the history of the Jim Beaver Esports eShort Course Triple Crown will be thrown. You're watching Podium Esports.
General Tire was born more than 100 years ago, right here in America. We've spent the last century tackling every kind of road this country has to offer, and especially the places without roads. So you know that with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
One fistful of bourbon.
Who's doing that?
It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful.
There's nothing wrong with looking good, but when riding is your passion, it's performance that matters. Like having the off-road's most advanced suspension. It monitors input from driver and machine 200 times every second and automatically adjusts each shock to flatten corners, soak up the bumps, and handle the hazards. Confidence and control for those who live to ride. Polaris, think outside.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple delight, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
Take your driving to the next level at Dirtfish. Gain confidence behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru STI or rear-wheel drive BRZ. Get sideways with skills on gravel, mud, and tarmac. Dirtfish offers programs for every driver. Visit dirtfish.com for details.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Born for competition. Perfected on the racetrack. For whatever your road looks like, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
And back live from the virtual Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut, we welcome you back into Podium's coverage of the Jim Beaver Esports eShort course Triple Crown here for the Pro 2 trucks in 2021. And we are nearing tonight's feature race. First, I want to welcome you back into the booth, though, alongside Josh Lee, just in Palm Beach County, Florida, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, not in the desert tonight, actually calling tonight's action from the iRacing office just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Everybody else ran away into the other room, but I'll say hi to Drew and Cisco and Chris, who, like everybody else tuned in, Josh, are enjoying a great night of racing thus far. We've gotten through the heats, we've gotten through the LCQ, which was more of a B main to set the grid. Now we know where everybody will start for this 18-lap feature. The question is, what's next? We've had rollovers, we've had a lot of contact, lead swapping. It should be a really exciting feature race.
I think it will be, Evan. I mean, we saw in the first heats, we saw a lot of aggressive driving, specifically around that transfer spot, but we also saw it up front for drivers fighting for that win. Seems like if there's even a small opening on the inside line of a corner, you can push that truck in there, slam that door open, and be able to make that pass happen. Think we're going to see a lot of that tonight. We're also seeing if you necessarily pull away at the front of the field, you can be reeled in relatively easily. Interesting to see how that'll work, especially because going into the feature, top 6 are inverted. So the fastest drivers in the heats, they're going to be starting back on row 3 instead of row 1.
It's going to be the biggest story for this one, plus that competition caution. We'll see how this one shakes out. Let's go back trackside and take a look at your feature race starting grid from Lime Rock Park, and it'll be courtesy of the invert Andy Tripiano and Zach Knowles on the front row for this one. They'll start in first and second position. That'll be ahead of third place starter Connor Berry and fourth place starter Cam Peterson. Then you'll find Brandon Proudfoot and Josh Edmondson. Your heat race winners are your top 6.
And back from there, exactly how they finished their heats. Keaton Swain and Bodie Cryer on the 4th row. Tyson Miller, Dave Bodio going to share that 5th row, with Mason Prater and Luke Canutt being the drivers, barely getting in off the transfer in their heats.
And then towards the back, Ethan Ebert and Sean Stratton drivers advancing in through that LCQ ahead of Chris Plumley and Kieran Forrest. James Watson and Victor Aldrich through the top 18 positions. And then to put a bow tie on it, just towards the rear, you got Miles Morse, Oliver Golding, Cameron Auberdon, and Keith Jeffrey. A look top to bottom at your 22 truck starting grid. We are racing late into the evening. You can see partly cloudy conditions. The temps have gone down just a little bit there, Josh, but looking in, it's 8:30 local time here in virtual Lakeville, Connecticut. So these drivers, I know they're just stickers on the trucks, but they might want a little bit of extra light. So this is going to be real fun. It reminds me of some of those races that get rain delayed and then you're racing late at night. You're running out of daylight. Everybody's racing hard. That may be what's in store for us coming up next in this 18-lap feature. But again, I cannot stress enough that the big story in this feature race is that competition caution at halfway. It has been a critical moment in all of these eShort course races we have seen thus far. You just want to, I think, be clean and get some track position to the midway point, and then things will really get interesting.
In the field, working their way down the hill, getting ready to go. Evan, daylight's running out. That means these drivers are going to be all going for this race win. It's time to go racing from Lime Rock.
Pace car in this time, a full star-studded field, and we're happy that you're spending your Thursday evening with us here on Podium and streaming live with Jim Beaver Esports. The field is in the hands of Andy Tripiano as we say, let's go Pro 2 racing at Lime Rock Park.
Already contact, trying to force his way to the bottom. It's Connor Berry. Knowles went down there to block the spot. Peterson's gonna get a tag. Everybody fighting for real estate through the first 2 corners. Peterson's gonna fall all the way to P16. Middle of the pack now as they race up front. Tripiano tries to run away. Berry trying to get around Knowles. You're on board with Peterson as he fights through the Hornet's Nest.
Double the amount of trucks that we've seen at any of the heat races thus far. We knew these opening laps were going to be messy. Up the hill, a couple of bobbles. Peterson makes more contact towards the rear. In front of him, you've got Chris Plumley driving it hard on Ethan Ebert. Everybody top to bottom trying to fight back. You can see the difference. Peterson started 4th. He's already back to 15th. And there's a huge touch as he will just push his way through and pass Plumley.
We talk about Cameron Peterson being one of the dominant drivers when it comes to off-road virtual racing. We're seeing why. He is so aggressive. He knows he has the speed. He wants to get back up to the front more than anybody in this field right now. And normally, a driver falling all the way back to mid-pack on the first lap means trouble for him. Not for Cam Peterson. I'm willing to bet by the competition caution at halfway, we're going to see Cameron Peterson inching close to the top 5 as Barry goes side by side with Knowles. They're fighting for second with Proudfoot in tow.
And there is the side-by-side battle as they try to chase down Trippiano. Connor Berry gets the spot for how long? Knowles for the crossover. He'll go back right down, and he has got a whole host of Jim Beaver Esports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2s behind him. They will go for the counter punch. Coming to the end of lap number 2, here's Josh Edmondson's perspective as he rides around right now in position number 6. No change, but the big run on the straightaway could be the difference maker. It is Proudfoot looking to the inside on Knowles. Heavy braking. He'll make the spot work. I mean, how about 125 miles an hour in a Pro 2 truck and that dive to turn 1?
Those brakes working overtime. You can see him start to glow, especially in the darkness we're seeing here at Lime Rock. Knowles is going to almost go around. He's fighting Dave Bodio in the 16, able to keep that spot. Update on Cam Peterson. He picks up another spot. He's looking to try and pick up 2 more as he sees Prater and Stratton fighting ahead of him. It is a whole host of cars now sitting in front of Cameron Peterson. How is he going to get around him? The 48 fighting from 13th. He goes to the inside of Prater now to take the spot. He'll take over 12th. They're going to come to the stripe, make his way onto lap number 4, and Peterson's looking for more.
He is on an absolute tear. Big run again off the final corner. Peterson will look for more and watch. 1 car, 2 cars. Dive at the line in the run down the 1. That's Peterson on the inside of Sean Stratton. He will outbrake him again on the inside. And another position to gain to move Peterson back to position number 11, behind him even. Mason Prater trying to take advantage of Stratton, but Stratton will shake him. Then further towards the front of the field, the battling's going on between Connor Berry and Zach Knowles. They were all over each other for 3rd and 4th position. Edmondson has since gotten a spot from Dave Bodio. He's up to P5.
And they're still continuing to fight further back. And you can see all these Jim Beaver Esports cars fast up at the front of the field. They're led by Proudfoot, who is losing a bit of time to Andy Truppiano. What a run for the 34 to start this race. He got out in front because of the top 6 invert. When we took the green flag, he was supposed to start 6th. After the invert, he's now started on the pole. He has kept that first spot since we have dropped the green flag. What a run for Truppiano if he can hold on. Back on board with Cameron Peterson. He's knocking on the door of the top 10 as he tries to get around Cryer in the 92.
Trying to get around that 090 Dodge machine is Zach Knowles on the outside as well in the case of Josh Edmondson. So there's a lot of drivers trying to make some moves as darkness continues to ascend upon us here at virtual Lime Rock Park, closing in on the competition to caution if it happens at the halfway point. Race control talking about it though, that we may be running low on daylight race until we can't see anymore. But up front, not missing anything. Andy Truppiano has been oh so good so far. He's 1.7 seconds ahead of Brandon Proudfoot and 2.1 seconds ahead of Connor Berry. Those are your top 3 as you see them come off of the final quarter. And a bit of blocking there for Proudfoot, anticipating maybe an attempted move by Connor Berry. He is not close enough as they dive down into turn number 1. You're on board with the 28.
And Evan, race control just announcing the competition caution is no more. We're going to race all the way to the checkered flag, whether that be at the scheduled end of lap number 18 or whatever, just we can't see anymore and have to stop the racing. So now this is going to change the strategy of everybody. They know that they are not going to be able to get bunched up on that competition caution anymore. They need to make up positions and make up time on a green racetrack, which is going to be important for Proudfoot if he wants to run for the win. It's going to be important for Peterson to try and get around all these cars. He's now in the top 10, looking for more in the 48.
He wants more, wants to get a little bit more out of this, and of course, with that competition caution not happening, that means that the strategy is completely different, right? One thing that we have seen often in these eShort course races over the last 2 years here on Podium and on the iRace at Esports Network is that drivers would pace themselves. If you didn't get a good Q effort, go back in the field, try to get some spots, and then worry about it. As we see Dave Bodio with a big dive, trying to get underneath Josh Edmondson in a battle for 5th and 6th. We thought that could have been a lifeline for Cam Peterson in this race. After his early race troubles, he has recovered to 10th, but without that competition caution, it is basically an impossible task to ask him to make up the some 5.4 seconds that he is off of the race leader. And to credit, how about Andy Truppiano, who has been so perfect thus far? This race is far from over, but he's been awfully good as Peterson's trying to get underneath Tyson Miller in a battle for P9. He's got a nose in front for a moment, slides wide, Miller's in the grass, but somehow will defend.
Oh, and he is going to slam that door shut on Peterson. Peterson going to lose a bit of time. He now has the 92 of Bodie Cryer right behind him. They race down the front straightaway. Peterson's going to look again on the 90 of Tyson Miller. Hill's going to keep that spot in P10, but we go on board now with the number 48. If it looks dark to you at home, it looks dark to the drivers in their sim cockpits right now because they are needing to race as the sun continues to set. We're nearing in on 10 to go, and Peterson's looking for a spot to the outside of Miller. Contact made. Peterson's off and into the grass on 2 wheels for a moment. The 48 gets back going. He'll fall to 12th.
It's the second time tonight Cam Peterson's been off track on that part of the racetrack. I was convinced that that 48 was going to flip that time, but somehow brings it back onto all fours. Peterson has to reset again, dropping it back to position number 12. Now Connor Berry in third. You're looking off of his back bumper to Zach Knowles. Knowles wants to be the challenger in this group. He started second, slid back a little bit. Same thing happened to him in his heat race a little bit early on this afternoon, and brightest in on track right now is the LED dash on board with your P4 runner. You can still see, though, second and first place are within striking distance. In the last couple of laps around, Brandon Proudfoot has been the faster truck on track. That race lead that was once 1.5 seconds is down to less than half a second right now as Proudfoot is really putting the pressure on.
And you can see just how close he has gotten. He's within 3/10 now as Brandon Proudfoot going to look for the lead on Andy Truppiano. Down the hill they go. Is Proudfoot going to be able to make a move down the front straightaway into turn number 1? Truppiano still holding the lead. 2/10 now. Going to separate the two front runners. Truppiano goes to the inside to try and throw a block. Proudfoot now going to go hard breaking into 1. He looks to the inside. Truppiano's going to go a bit wide. They're side by side as they work through 1. Proudfoot trying to get there, but it's not going to be enough. Truppiano keeps the lead.
And Proudfoot's not going to let this one go. He'll go right back down underneath as he tries to get to the left-hander in the S's. He's got a nose in front now as they race down the back stretch. Can he squeeze through? Yes, he does. Brandon Proudfoot to the race lead at lap number 10. Now, what can Andy Truppiano do to respond? It's going to be more and more difficult for these drivers to see the track limits as it gets darker here at Lime Rock. The TV camera is a little bit lighter, helps us out, but I can promise you it's more difficult for the drivers, and they are really pushing hard now as Brandon Proudfoot is looking for his second straight Pro 2 win.
When you talk about it getting dark for the drivers even inside these virtual race cars, talk about them and just the environment they're in. If they're in a lighter room, it could be more difficult to see. Maybe they have the brightness turned down on their display. Maybe they have the gamma turned down. These are specific to esports things that we need to think about, because it's not just what we're seeing on the TV cameras or what we're seeing in our sim. It's what these drivers are seeing in their sims. Completely different set of scenarios. If somebody's running in VR, how is the darkness going to affect them and their ability to see towards the end of this race? With 8 to go, visibility is becoming a premium, and it's going to become important, especially for the late race chargers trying to make a pass.
I think if they had anticipated a late night race like this, right? I mean, if you're doing endurance racing on the iRacing surface and you know you're going to be racing at nighttime, obviously you're going to have lights on the car, the track's going to be lit. But Josh, you might just prepare your setup more for that, right? You might turn the lights off in your room to make sure there's no glare on the screen. I don't think any of these drivers were anticipating this race going so late into the evening here in the sim that they did not take those kind of preparations. But Tropiano, huge mistake in turn 1 as he overshoots it, and Connor Berry will slither on through. Move the number 28 machine up now to second position, because he have a shot at chasing down Proudfoot. Tropiano will defend third for the moment, but does this breathe life into the 28 of Connor Berry's efforts? He started this race in third position. He's up to P2. Does anybody have anything for Brandon Proudfoot?
It's going to be difficult. Nevin, you were talking about it getting darker, harder to see track limits. I'm starting to think about how hard it'll be to see the braking markers. And take a look, our producer Ryan Bauer putting the night vision on for a moment there. They're trying to see everything possible. He's already cranked the gamma on the sim cameras so we can see just a little bit more. It's getting dark for us here in the booth. Can't imagine it for these drivers down on the track. Harder to see those braking zones, Evan. We could see a lot of cars start to go wide.
Can't see the braking zones, but the only way you can tell what the truck is by those glowing brake rotors. They are heavy on the brakes here through turns 1 and 2. And now Josh Edmondson, the driver, under fire because he just made a pass on Andy Tropiano. So move Edmondson up to third. Tropiano slides to fourth, and it just seems like Tropiano lost a bit of that long run speed after having such a good start to this feature. He is getting eaten up. Knowles is behind him. Behind them, you got Dave Bodio, Keaton Swain, not that far off either. It is a tall order here as Andy Tropiano wants to hang on for a top 5 from Lime Rock. But up at the front of the field, Brandon Proudfoot this time by. Gonna put 13 laps behind him, take 5 laps to go. Last time by, Connor Berry behind him was the better of the race cars until the very last corner. Threw away just a little bit, that 28 machine, so the gap between the leaders still at about 0.4 of a second. That equates to about 4 or 5 truck lengths as you watch those leaders now.
Evan, take a look at the top 3. Proudfoot, Berry, and Edmondson. One thing they all have in common, all drivers for Jim Beaver Esports. I think Jim knows how to pick these off-road drivers to put on his sim racing team. I mean, we're looking at it right now. Proudfoot out in front. Berry, Edmondson, all on Jim Beaver Esports. They sit on that top 3. You go down to Bodio in 6th. He's also on Jim Beaver Esports. Cameron Peterson is another Jim Beaver Esports driver. He's knocking on the door for 9th on the back bumper of Tyson Miller. So a great run for Jim Beaver Esports tonight, and as they come back onto the front straightaway to go to 4 laps to go, Proudfoot trying to put away a race win, but Berry's not going to let him have it.
He is going to do everything he can to make that as difficult as possible as we approach almost 9:45 or 8:45 in sim time. You can start to see that sun dipping behind the mountains surrounding Lime Rock, getting further and further away. Meanwhile, Cam Peterson trying to make a pass for position number 9 for at least the 3rd time tonight. He's gone up and down after several bits of contact, and the next driver in front of him is Tyson Miller. We'll see how patient he is if he tries to push his way through. But there is that Jim Beaver Esports trio. Proudfoot, Barry, Edmondson, 1, 2, 3, all within 4/10 of a second of each other. Of course, Brandon Proudfoot, a two-time winner already from the Pro 2 Triple Crown last year to the Pro 2 Showdown on the road course at Long Beach. You got Connor Barry, though, and Josh Edmondson looking for their first eShort course wins, and they can taste it now. Coming inside of 4 laps to go, now 3 laps to go.
Gotta wonder how hungry Edmondson is for this win. I mean, he sits there in third, always looking for more wins in the win column when it comes to eShort course, and always looking to get to that next level. One of the highest I ratings when it comes to that dirt road license, so he knows his way around an off-road truck on an off-road track, and it seems like he knows his way around an asphalt track in these off-road trucks as well. They work their way now back up the hill and back down they go. This Jim Beaver Esports trio, nobody making any sudden movements, but I'm starting to think Connor Barry might be buying his time. He's gonna be close as they come down the front straightaway. He might make a move on Proudfoot with 2 to go.
Going to be 2 laps to go this time through. It is still race leader Brandon Proudfoot looking to remain as the king of the Pro 2 trucks here in eShort course. But 2 of the best in Connor Barry and Josh Edmondson are on the doorstep. I wonder how much of a factor these team cars will be. Do you cut somebody a little bit more of a break because they're your teammate, or do you assume that that means they can expect that you're going to race them just as hard as anybody else? How bad do you want to win the 2021 Pro 2 Triple Crown with 1.5 laps to go? Proudfoot has done one thing right here, and he has not made a mistake to open the door for Barry. It's clear the 28's going to have to work for it.
And Evan, normally I'd say the teammates might expect them to race them a little bit cleaner, but we're talking about Jim Beaver Esports here. I think they'll be insulted by their teammates if they don't run that as hard or harder than anybody else on the track. The white flag is out. Proudfoot goes on the defense. Nothing for Barry, nothing from Edmondson as they race back to 1 lap to go.
1 lap to go, and it is almost a fever pitch black here from Lime Rock Park. Can they see the racetrack to get one more lap in? That's going to be the question mark. They may have to drive a lot of this based on muscle memory for Brandon Proudfoot. So far, so good. He stays on the racetrack. Now he's off a little bit. You can see some of the dirt as they cut the corner. But they are all right. Lap traffic stays to the wayside as one driver's wrapped up in the Armco, and this has really benefited Brandon Proudfoot. There's a bit of timidness at a Connor Barry. Proudfoot pulls to a 7/10 of a second advantage. 2 corners to go. Down the hill. Final corner at Long Beach. Can Proudfoot hit the marks in the dark? He'll make the final run down the Sam Posey Straight. And Brandon Proudfoot is the 2021 Pro 2 Triple Crown winner in an incredible one-of-a-kind race at Lime Rock Park.
He won it in the pitch black. When they took the white flag, the entire sim went dark, and Proudfoot able to navigate a track by almost not seeing anything. There you can see we had the gamma turned up. There it is without any fit filters on it. You can see just how dark it was. Can barely see the paint schemes on the trucks. But what a race from Brandon Proudfoot. Dominant through the entire night, dominant in the feature, and what a win for the Jim Beaver Esports number 22.
And I cannot stress enough that the view we have with the TV cameras is far better than the view that the drivers have behind the wheel. I mean, they can likely see nothing, especially when we got to the white flag and it got that next step darker. But Brandon Proudfoot actually thrived in that situation. His last lap in the total darkness was actually one of his faster laps of the final 5 times around. I mean, he really took advantage of it, and he is your 2021 Jim Beaver Esports eShort Course Pro 2 Triple Crown winner in our inaugural trip to Lime Rock Park. We take a look at your full race results. The final margin of victory, 7/10 of a second, as Brandon Proudfoot becomes the first 3-time winner in eShort Course history. Connor Berry, Josh Edmondson, so close to their first wins. They come home in second and third, and can't wait to get their perspectives on this one in just a moment. Dave Bodio, Zach Knowles through the top 5 ahead of Keaton Swain, Ethan Ebert, Tyson Miller, Luke Cadup, and Bodie Cryer.
And back from there, from 11th on down to 20th, Cam Peterson, he tried to get up through the field. 11th was the best he could do at the checkered flag. Sean Stratton in 12th, Keith Jeffrey in 13th, Mason Prater 14th, with Chris Plumley rounding out the top 15. Andy Trupiano, he had such a good run going, had some incidents late in the race. He ends up P16. Oliver Golding in 17th, Miles Morse 18th, Kieran Forrest 19th, with James Watson rounding out the top 20 in the final 2 spots on the grid, rounding out the 22 drivers who took the green flag, Victor Aldrich and Cameron Albernan.
Look at the bottom at tonight's full race results from Lime Rock Park. Let's talk with your race winner, Brandon Proudfoot. No stranger to success in the Pro 2 trucks, does it again. But Brandon, I have to wonder if you've ever had a race like that with the daylight burning down to the very end of this race where it looked like that final lap was almost in complete darkness. Somehow you keep it on track, you stay perfect, and you get your 3rd Pro 2 win in eShort course. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. Going against the other pros in the real life definitely had its perks and its own experience, but this was definitely different. It's being a dirt guy, I'm not too used to trying to follow different people's lines. You usually try to stick to your own thing, but the biggest thing that helped me tonight, believe it or not, was the other people's brake rotors there for the last half of the race where I was still behind somebody. That was my breaking point, and then that last lap really was chaos.
And tell us about the strategy. You know, we've seen these trucks on asphalt, we've seen these trucks on dirt, and you found success in some of these road races as well, right? I mean, you've won it at Laguna Seca, Long Beach, and now here tonight at Lime Rock Park. What is it about these Pro 2s at these asphalt tracks that just clicks so good for you?
For me, being a dirt driver, I like having a very, very loose vehicle. And these trucks, even on the dirt side, it's always a thing to have them pitch sideways. But the thing for me is, which I got to thank Dave Bodio, Keith Jeffrey, all the asphalt guys that are on Jim Beaver, that taught me in the little time I did do asphalt with them, the importance of tire conservation. That is 100% what the game is with these asphalt tracks, to where one bad pit maneuver from somebody behind you and your rear end kicks out. You shred the rears, you're going to be chasing that the rest of the race. If you lock up your brakes, you flat spot them, you're going to be pushing the rest of the race. So it's really important to not mess up your tires in any way and keep real consistent throughout the whole race in its entirety.
You talk about the experience of racing against some of the real-world pros, and of course, much of your teammates, some of the best on the sim as well. But, you know, to have guys like Cameron Peterson, Luke Cadup in this one, you entered tonight in a 3-way tie with them as the only 2-time winners in eShort course over the last 2 years. You are now standing alone at the top of the mountain as the only 3-time race winner in eShort course with Jim Beaver Esports in these events. What does it mean to you to not just compete in these races against these guys, but to have had all of the success that you have?
Means the world with having such great guys. It's a real difficulty, including, like you said, Luke Canup and all the other guys that race on the pro trucks. It is a real tight competition on the dirt side, but this asphalt side, it really shows that taking everybody out of their comfort zone, doing something that's not usually pertaining to these trucks, really tosses the tables. You got Luke Canup, who's usually really good in the trucks, and usually start in the back of the pack and work his way through. Even he has trouble making it through these fields whenever you're on stuff like this without asphalt. So it really kind of shows me that I'm a little bit of a wild card, and I think it shows the other guys as well, is that you might surprise yourself on what you might be able to move forward with.
Well, I know that this will wrap things up for us for the Triple Crown and eShort course here in 2021 on the calendar. But before we let you go, Brandon, where can people find more about you, see you on track, and learn more about the team?
Of course, I'd like to thank Fistful of Bourbon. Winners get whiskey, baby. General Tire, Polaris RZR, Vision Wheel, Chris Leone Motorsport Drop, you guys here at Podium Esports for doing the broadcast, Jim and Chris and Matt Kalish and everybody else that's doing background work, doing the broadcast, and just a little pun, thank to whoever put the LEDs for the brake rotors in iRacing, because that's what we were all using. Thanks, family, and everybody.
To tell where people were.
Yep. And wish my sister and my girlfriend's sister as well good luck in college. They both just got sent out here, so good luck to you guys. This one's for you.
Well, Brandon, we appreciate you putting on the show that you guys do all the time in these events, and appreciate the insights on I call it a one-of-a-kind night from Lime Rock. But congratulations on the win. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.
That is your race winner tonight from virtual Lime Rock Park. It is Brandon Proudfoot. We'll move on to the second step of the podium with Connor Berry, who's standing by with Josh.
Well, Connor, it was a unique race to say the least. You had some speed in that Jim Beaver Esports number 28. Let's go back to the heats. You had some good speed in your heat as well. How difficult was it to just get acclimated to this track, and how acclimated were you to asphalt tracks in these Pro 2s coming into tonight's race?
Yeah, I obviously don't do these much. I mean, I do the trucks a bunch, but I don't do it on road. So it's definitely a weird race for me, but I tried my best, and I found some speed in my heat, what I knew that I could take into the main, and it sure did show.
And a good second place finish in the main, like you just talked about. That speed showed. What more did you need at the end of that race to try and get around the dominant force of Brandon Proudfoot, who took the win?
Honestly, I needed to just focus more and not get the truck to over rotate any turns. Here you want the truck just to be nice and smooth, and I was doing that until the last 2 laps when I knew that it was on, so I was like, I need to go. But then that's when I started to make some more mistakes, and then towards the end it just got a tad bit dark, but it was still cool. I'm sure we put on a show.
And now moving forward with these Jim Beaver Esports events, are you going to practice more in the dark? Because it seemed like nobody was prepared for all the sunlight to go away that quickly in the feature.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a chance. I mean, this is short course, and you never know what can be thrown at you. I mean, I thought that it was still fun. It just threw something else at us besides just the track and the cars. So I think it was sick, and it would be cool to do it in the dirt.
And moving forward as well, you're looking for that first win in the Jim Beaver Esports short course events. How hungry are you for that win, and what's your attitude going into the next one that you can possibly get that win?
Yeah, I for sure want to win. I have done them all since the very first race, and I slowly just been getting faster and faster, and now I have confidence with going out of the road course with a second. So I will definitely be ready to try and win, and let's hope that I can take it home.
Connor, congratulations on your second place tonight, and we look forward to seeing you in more Jim Beaver Esports eShort course competitions in the future.
Thank you, and I just want to give out a shout out to my whole entire team, Jim Beaver Esports. We put in tons of time, and it is showing with us going 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I want to give a big shout out to them, Polaris Razor, General Tire, Vision Wheel, and CBR, and Jim for this awesome event.
Thank you very much for joining us in the booth. That's Connor Berry, second place finisher here from Lime Rock Park, Evan, and a great one at that.
It was, and we're stood by now with the third and final finisher on the podium tonight. Josh Edmondson brings this one home in third. Josh, congratulations on a good result for you, but I feel like anytime we do one of these eShort course races, you always wanted a little bit more, and tonight seemed to be going your way, right? You win the heat race, but the invert put you back to P6. How much of a hindrance was that on your efforts here, especially without that midway caution flag coming out?
Yeah, I think it hurt a little bit, especially catching the bigger invert when in heat 1 put me also on the outside for turn 1, and it did for Cam as well. So unfortunately, going into turn 1, we got bumped and I got pushed into him. He went off the track and I went off a little too, so we lost a bunch of spots. But ultimately happy with coming back to third from there. I had to make some passes and charge and deal with the darkness. It was not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, we had the benefit on the TV side here of cranking up the brightness on the cameras so we could kind of see things like the curbs and the brake rotors to identify who was where and what was what. Did you have to make any adjustments? I mean, how difficult was that? Because it was dark when the race started, but it got really dark towards the end.
Yeah, it was manageable the first half of the race or so, and it kept going through these points where it would just get a little darker and a little darker, and then like with 3 laps to go, I could hardly see anything. I was driving off of the guys' brake rotors in front of me, just kind of following those and trying to see when you could kind of see them move a little bit when they were under braking. It was a crazy race for sure. So ultimately happy with coming back to third, I suppose. But
we've seen you have so much success in these races, right? Tonight is such a weird challenge, just based on how things have gone. But it always seems like in these major events, the stars just haven't aligned for you. I mean, both you and Connor there looking to try to, spoil the party for Brandon tonight and get your first wins in eShort course. I mean, where do you think that little bit of a difference has been for you, and how much is it kind of killing you that, you're still looking for that first win, which I'm still shocked hasn't come yet?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Just unfortunate circumstances in the races. I've won a bunch of the heat races, Wild Horse, and won the Pro Sim Racer heat race there, so I catch the big invert.
Well.
But yeah, and again, catching the big invert. So it puts you in a tough spot to begin. And then it's really hard to stay out of trouble in these features when everybody's so close in speed. One little mistake loses a bunch of time, and it's really hard to get passes done. So it's just tough to come back from a deficit when there's that many fast guys.
I'm going to ask you one more before we let you go here. Obviously, we do a lot of very different races here when we do these Jim Beaver Esports events, on the dirt, on the asphalt. I mean, when you kind of compare and contrast all the different disciplines that we tackle here, how do you like running these Pro 2 trucks at a road course like this?
They're fun. The racing's really close, so that's what makes it fun. I don't drive them very much. I prefer to be on the dirt. That's where I have the most fun, I would say. But they're fun. It breaks it up from doing all the dirt races. So, yeah, I'm always down to do these, and look forward to the next one for sure.
It's the last one for this season, Josh. Looking forward to what's to come next year. As we let you go, where can people find you, keep up with you and the team?
Yeah, Jim Beaver Esports. Got to thank all those guys. Definitely been good to be on this team this year and grinding with Cam and Connor, Brandon, all those guys. It's a really fast group and keeps the level really high for all of us. So yeah, definitely shout out to those guys and the team. Fistful of Bourbon, General Tire, Polaris Razor, Rigid Industries, Vision Wheels, Dirtfish, and everybody else. It's awesome.
We appreciate your time racing so late into the night tonight, Josh. Congratulations on a good podium result, and looking forward to catching you next time.
Thanks, Evan.
It is your third place finisher tonight from Lime Rock Park. Josh Edmondson comes home in third position and locks out a trio Jim Beaver Esports Pro 2 trucks at the front of the field. Just like that, the 8th installment of eShort course racing has come and gone, and we now have our first 3-time feature winner in Brandon Proudfoot. Josh, I can promise you that this race was unlike any he has ever had to do in a Pro 2 truck, or probably anything on the iRacing surface. But it really made things very exciting, right? We were expecting drivers to maybe fight for a bit of track position in that feature, use that competition caution, set them up late. They did not have that option, right? With the light dwindling, scrap the competition yellow. They knew they were running out of daylight, and it was really a mad dash for all 18 of those laps in the feature.
There was that sense of urgency, and especially as that sun continued to set, there was a moment where at the beginning of the race they could still see a little bit okay. Yes, it's dark, but they could still have some good visibility. Then, as Josh Edmondson mentioned, just started to wane down and down and down and down, and then suddenly it went pitch black and nobody could see anything towards the end of that race. So we saw a lot of aggression in the beginning, and I think that's where Brandon Proudfoot won this race. He was aggressive at the beginning, got that lead, then follows Connor Berry, follows in Josh Edmondson. That's where we got that top 3 for Jim Beaver Esports. And then right as that sun got to a point where it set so much they couldn't see anything out on the racetrack, then comes just survive. It was survival of the fittest out there. They stayed single file, not a lot of aggression there, but it was just trying to stay on the racetrack, and ultimately Brandon Proudfoot was able to hold off and stay on the racetrack and grab that 3rd race win. Like you mentioned, a huge achievement here in the Jim Beaver Esports eShort course Triple Crowns and World Cup.
And all those wins in the Pro 2s. I think it's safe to say he's the king of the Pro 2 trucks here on the iRacing service. Before we close out tonight, let's look ahead to some of the coming action up in the next couple of days here on Podium Esports. And it all continues in 2 days' time with the MSRA Premier Series from the Daytona International Speedway. That one is on the 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern, right back here at twitch.tv/Podium2. And then the SimMax Cup Series, powered by MPI, heads to Talladega on August the 29th. That's a 9:15 start at twitch.tv/Podium Esports. Then on Monday Night Racing playoffs continue with the trucks at Homestead. That one is the 30th. It's an early 7:45 p.m. start back here at twitch.tv/Podium2. And then Operation E-Motorsports iRacing League heads to the Daytona Road Course on the 31st, 8 p.m. start. Remember, you have to go to youtube.com/Operation Motorsport to find coverage of that one. Then the playoff opener for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as they head to the Lady in Black in Darlington. That one is on Tuesday the 31st, 8:30 p.m. for Countdown to Green at twitch.tv/iRacing. And then the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series Round 2 continues from No Limit, Texas, September the 3rd, 9 o'clock Eastern. Double coverage available at twitch.tv/Podium Esports and over on Podium 2. So Josh, as we close out and go back to you one final time for some final thoughts here, these races are always exciting. We always look forward to these and are so thankful for all of the partners for being a part of these and making this possible for it. But I don't know if I've ever done a race in the dark. I don't know if we'll ever do one again, right? Such a unique night. But it adds to the legacy of how crazy these races can be. I mean, these trucks are wild enough as is. They need a lot of support. But tonight was truly a memorable night. I feel like we'll go back in 5 years and be like, remember the night race at Lime Rock? Not Long Beach. I was just trying to visualize places in the sun at this hour. But it's going to be one of those, I think, that we'll remember for some time. Brandon Proudfoot is just really growing into his full potential in front of our.
And it's one of those races where we can really talk about it and say, man, Brandon Proudfoot really showed up when it came to this race, because this was a challenge. It was a challenge in the beginning when the visibility was going low, and then it was a challenge when the sun completely went away. They had to completely change how they race on this race course. And I think it's really solidifying any time we see Jim Beaver's name on an eShort course event. It is going to be exciting. Doesn't matter if it's on dirt, doesn't matter if it's on asphalt, doesn't matter if it's in the afternoon or if it's at midnight with no lights on the track. We're going to see the best of eShort course go racing, and we're going to see the best of the best get into victory lane. And we saw that tonight, and we're going to see it in the future, and we've already seen it in the past.
That'll do it for us here tonight from virtual Lime Rock Park. Of course, want to say a big thank you to all of our partners first and foremost for making tonight's action possible. For General Tire, you can go to www.generaltire.com for more information on them. For Fistful of Bourbon, for more information, visit fistfulofbourbon.com. For Polaris Razor, you can learn more for them at offroad.polaris.com. And for Vision Wheel, for more information, you can visit them at visionwheel.com. And Big Green Egg has more information on all of their products at biggreenegg.com. So on behalf of everybody who makes tonight's show possible, for the team at Podium Esports with James Pike, Cisco Scaramuza, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore, and for the Jim Beaver Esports team of Jim Beaver, Chris Leone, Matt Kalish, Brittany Cardone. Looking forward to having Jim and Tiffany back on the call for one of these sometime soon. And of course, for your broadcast team tonight. For Ryan Bauer downstairs, for Josh Lee, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and congratulate Brandon Proudfoot. He is the 2021 Jim Beaver Esports eShort Course Pro 2 Triple Crown champion and is the first ever 3-time winner in eShort Course history. Until next time, good night from Lime Rock.
it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now.